What's up, guys? Adapark here, and today I'm going to do something that I love doing more than anything else on this channel, and that is I'm going to answer a question that one of you guys sent to me. Specifically, we have a question that was posed to me yesterday on the video that I did at the beginning of the month, labeled the best loot method, which oddly enough, coincidentally, that was actually a video that was sparked by a question that was sent in to me from another gentleman. And the question originally posed was, hey, what is the best, most optimal, the only loot method that you and I and guilds and raids and all this good stuff should use? And I went into detail over the 20 minutes or so, various different, very popular loot methods, pros and cons, and what you probably should be using based on your specific guild or group's setup. And it essentially boiled down to the higher level content, i.e. heroic and mythic, the more hardcore, which does not equate to heroic and mythic, but we're talking about attendance and what happens if you mess up, all that good stuff. The more of that you do, the more control your leadership needs, the less you do. So if you're, hey guys, let's try to put together a normal this weekend. If we can't, cool, pug it yourself. We're not too worried about it. If you don't make it to every raid, you don't really need to stress over loot, and your officers can probably just leave it on personal loot. So with all that being said, I did receive a question the other day from which I assume to be a gentleman. I apologize if that is not the case, by the name of Nazarm. Again, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. But he says, hey mate, and I'm sure coming from an American with a Southern accent, a hey mate is probably not the most correct way to pronounce it, but we're gonna butcher through this English. Hey mate, I'm currently in a situation where the loot is distributed using the loot council method within his raid. However, the council, and he has it in quotes there, is one person. At the moment, the leadership structure in the guild and raids involve two officers in the raid. The raid leader, this gentleman, and the guild leader. I'm wondering how to raise the issue of having a single person allocating loot without coming across as being selfish, like I just want to be involved in the process. The benefits of having the loot council method is the democratic method or democratic process, in my opinion. Love your videos. Thanks. Okay, so first and foremost, thank you so much for sending in this question. I love helping you guys. And like I've mentioned before, if you are having this specific issue within your guild, you're not the only one. I'm having it. I've probably had it. I may have it in the future. There may be other guilds out there, other groups that are having similar situations. So, with that being said, knocking some of the stuff around on my desk, with that being said, I think it's really cool and it's really important that we bring these issues up and we ask these questions. So the second thing I'll say before we get into the meat, you say here you love my videos. Thank you. Seriously, like I know I say it at the end of all my videos that I appreciate the likes and the subs, and it's seriously motivating, especially for such a small channel trying to get out. This is very like high level, boring, leadershipy talk. So, it's nothing fancy. It's nothing like special. So to get something like this, I really appreciate it. Now, into the meat, let's talk about your question. So I think you and I both agree very much so that this is not a loot council method of loot within the raid. It's not. A loot council is several people, whether it be your guild leadership, whether it be a preset or predetermined set of people, whether it be everybody. A loot council is more than one person. How many council style fights within raids do you have that are just one person? None of them, right? Like you look at any of the council style fights, Black Temple, Hellfire Citadel, whatever. Those are the first two that come to mind just because they are labeled like Hellfire High Council. That's like 3 dudes. The one in, if you get a Windows update, the one in Black Temple, you get, it's like 4 or 5 people in that room. So point being made here is that you're not using loot council. You have a master looter that is divvying up loot however he sees fit. Now, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that loot method. There's nothing wrong with one person giving out the loot if we leave it at that. However, as I said in the video, and I think the reason why you're bringing this up, at least in my opinion, is you do see the potential for things like, I'm sure as a guild leader that this guy or girl is perfectly trustworthy. I'll give him or her the benefit of the doubt, but they may not understand what is better for one class or spec as opposed to another. Or there's even the chance that not thinking, even if they don't intentionally do it, that they're going to favor one person over another, whether it be, because of gender, because of, relationship to that person. There are many different ways where there can be mistakes that are made. And again, we talk about that in the loot method video, and I think that's why you're bringing it up. Now, I'll tell you this. As a raid leader and a guild leader that does divvy out the loot within my raid, I feel for you. I understand where you're coming from, because I don't think that this single master looter style system is good long-term for a group, for a guild. In my group, I've mentioned to you guys a billion times, I've been in my guild, I started out as a probationary member. I did my trial run. I got promoted, all that jazz. I went through it. There's a video out there detailing my whole story. And I've been in my guild for 10 years. I'm the most trustworthy motherfucker in my guild. I'm not going anywhere. If I stop playing, if if anything happens to me, within this guild, I'm done. So with that being said, even I don't feel comfortable being the only one that is divvying out loot, because there are so many factors and there's so many personalities and there's so many preconceived like emotion and connections and things where people just go, the only reason that I'm not getting loot or the only reason she's getting loot is because of this factor. And I agree, and I think that you feel your guild and your raid would benefit from stepping away from that. Yes, absolutely. So the question that you're asking here is, how do you bring it up? Because I don't think it's a case of you being selfish. I don't think it's a case of, I'm the raid leader, I should be a part of it. No, that's not it. Now, you are the raid leader, you should be a part of it. That's not a question. Don't feel that you're doing something wrong or that you're, overstepping because you want to be involved. You should be involved. Now, how do you go about it? How would I want someone to go about it within my guild, within my raid? Well, I think the best course of action is this. You need to either wait until the end of the week or the beginning of the week when the raid is done. So, for example, my guild raids 2 nights a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. For me, if I were in your position and I was not divvying out loot, let's say, one of my officers is now the guild leader and, roles are reversed and whatnot. Wait till the end of the week or the beginning of the week. Don't do it in the middle of the raid schedule. My guild does Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays and Thursdays are not the best time to talk about it. The weekend or Monday, where you can sit down and you can talk about it and things don't change. And, especially abruptly. Sit down and talk about it. Go to your guild leader and go, hey, I need to talk to you about some guild policy things. I think we need to look at some stuff within the guild. Now, be calm about it. Don't push. Be calm. Be open to discuss. And hopefully your guild leader is a reasonable individual to where they can go, hey man, what's up? What's going on? What do you need to talk about? And as a side note, as a guild leader or a leader in general, and hopefully, Nazarm, you are like this, where you're open and willing to talk to people and to listen. So, and I say that in all my videos, but sit down with your guild leader and tell them exactly what's going on. Hey, we have this loot council method, but the loot council is just you. And my concern here is many different factors. First and foremost, if anybody bitches and complains about favoritism or, one person that shouldn't have gotten the item that, that drops within a boss or within a raid, having a single person giving it out only accentuates that issue, where instead, if both of us are deciding on who gets what loot, that way nobody can claim favoritism because we're both having input on it. And I think as the raid leader that I should have some input on it. You know, go on to tell them, your guild leader, also, what happens in the event that you are unable to log on. You're unable to get into the raid. It's happened to me before where, an hour before the raid, computer blue screens, doesn't come back on, or internet drops. Or I had one night where all of my USB devices stopped working. Motherboard died. All the ports stopped working. I could turn my computer on, but no mouse, no keyboard, couldn't raid for the night. So what happens when that's the case and you, Nizarm, have never given out loot within that guild? Are people going to cry foul on that? And in general, it gives more eyes on the item because you, whatever class you play, know more about that class and that spec than I do, hopefully. And I know more about my class and spec than you do. And especially this is the case if you are playing a wide variety of roles. So in my guild, I have one of my officers is a healer. One of my officers is a ranged DPSer, and then obviously I'm the tank. So the guild leader, knows the tanks, knows the melee DPS. The healer knows, healing officer knows the heals and ranged DPS accordingly. And so we can kind of talk to each other and go, look, is this good? Is this bad? Is this positioning good and bad and all that good stuff? And we can cover a lot more knowledge. And when you add a few more people looking at a piece of loot, you can go, hey, that's really good for X class. Or that's not as good, that dude is wrong. He probably shouldn't go with that. Or it's better for this person rather than that person. And it really prevents any question of corruption. No matter how trustworthy, no matter how good, no matter how just and fair and all these things, even if you as the guild leader, in your case, even if he is perfect and never makes a mistake, there are still raiders out there that are going to go, whoa, why did she get that piece? Why did that dude get that piece? Oh, it's because they're friends. Even if it's not the case, perception is reality and you can easily prevent this. So talk to your guild leader, let them know what's going on, let them know that you do want to be involved because you want to prevent anybody from complaining about it, because you think that more people having eyes on each item and divvying it out would be better to make sure that people are getting the proper gear and they're getting the gear that would benefit the raid and the guild and the group the most. And that way nobody can complain if something bad happens. Now, your guild leader is going to go one of two ways. Obviously, he's either going to say, yeah, dude, no, totally makes sense. Or, no, not going to happen. If he says no, he is not interested in you helping him out, I think you, as a leader in general, need to evaluate your position within that group, within that guild, within that leadership environment. Because to flat out say no concerns me. Because this is something that's a big deal to a lot of people. Loot is important. Even if it's not important to you, I don't care about loot. I'll pass on loot every day. I don't give two shits about loot. But I know some of my raiders love getting loot. They love it. And it's really important to them. And, if to flat out say no, denied, I'm not going to let you join into making decisions within the guild, I would question the mindset of that guild leader. Now, if that guild leader says, yeah, you know what, it makes sense, great. You need to make sure that the group as a whole understands that, hey, here's the deal. Guild leader so-and-so was divvying out the loot. Now we're going to have some more eyes on it. So in the event that you guys have any questions, feel free to talk to us, not just him, about loot, and then, we'll figure things out, etc. Now, there was a second option available, and Nizarm, I know you've already seen it, but I want to mention it for the rest of you guys. There is a gentleman by the name of, and again, I assume, Cameron Graham, who posted a reply to that question today. And he said, maybe you have all of the raiders vote for one person. Yeah, they cannot vote for themselves, but they vote for one person within the group, within the raid, within the guild, and then you choose, based on the size of, Cameron says 3 people, but I think it would be based on the size of the guild. If you have a 10-person guild, 3 might be too many, if you're including the guild leader and, an officer. But based on the size of the guild, pick the highest voted, 2 or 3, 4 people, and they also are joined into Loot Council. I think that's an excellent idea. The Loot Council system is built so that you have many people looking at a piece of loot and many people going, what is the best person to get this item, based on many different factors. Based on, I know this person's going to be reliable, that this person really truly needs the gear, that he's going to put it to the best use, that it's going to stay within the group. That new guy that just joined you yesterday, you don't know if he's going to stay. That guy that's been raiding with you for 2 years probably would be a better choice, everything else being equal, to getting an item. And just like I said, more knowledge, more eyes on it, to where you can go, look, that is really good for X spec, but not Y spec. And a great example of this actually happened tonight, where we had a relic drop within heroic TOS, and I was ecstatic about it, that no one else wanted it, and I was very happy that it dropped, because as a Guardian Druid, it was a Thrash relic. And for anyone that plays a Guardian Druid, you should know that they are highly prized relics, that they, great DPS, great numbers, really helps with your threat, and it's what a lot of Druids are going for right now. And somebody in the raid saw that I was replacing like an 860 or an 880 Thrash relic. They're like, holy crap, whatever. People don't understand. Yeah, an 860 Thrash relic was worth keeping in my weapon because it was a Thrash relic. People don't know these things. I don't know, what a lot of classes need as far as stats, as far as relics, as far as trinkets. You might. And when you put your minds together as leaders and as a group, everybody benefits. So, Nazarm, that's what I would suggest to you. Sit down at the end of the raid, or at the end of the raid schedule, the raid week, or before the beginning of the next one. Tell your raid leader or your guild leader what you want to do. Explain your situation, explain your goals, and then let him or her decide accordingly. If they go for it, cool. If they don't go for it, maybe you need to sit down and think about what's going on yourself. With all that being said, Nazarm, Cameron, and Graham, who both of you guys, thank you for the post, or the question rather, and then the additional answer. And for everybody else, thank you so much for watching this. If you have any questions, comments, leave them in the comment section down below. If you like this video, hit that like, hit that sub button. Both those things, again, encourage me a great deal to continue to make the content that you're seeing here. If you want to hit the thumbs down button, you do not like this video, feel free to do so. However, I would appreciate that you let me know what I'm doing wrong. What do you not like about this channel, about my voice, about the video? What's going on to where I could improve for you guys? And with all that being said, till next time, guys, I'll see you later.